So as we start our next part of our Sporimacios and the going on with the story, I thought I want to say a little bit about my background and how it is that I got so involved in Breslev, that I got so involved particularly over here with Rav Shik, but love Dafka Rav Shik. But I want to say just a little bit about it. If you ask people who really get deeply involved in Breslev, what was it that got them started? Most of them will tell you a story that something happened in their life that broke them. And as a result of that, they needed to get close to Hashem. They needed to try to ask for Hashem's mercy. They needed to become close to Him. Well, I had something like that happen to me. So it had to do with sickness in my family, with my children. And we didn't know what to do about it. And my wife and I took different approaches. It was a very, very stressful, difficult time. I heard that there was a tzaddik who could teach you how to make a miracle. And who's the tzaddik? It was a guy named something called Breslev. And I had read some things about Breslev before. I always really liked the Torah. There was so little at this time. I was born actually on Lag BaOmer of 1945. It was a few days before the war in Europe ended. As I know, 1945, for whatever reason, is a significant time in what I see because when I came along, there was nothing much in Yiddishkeit. And Yiddishkeit was very weak. Chaim Kramer, who came to visit us because he used to come down to South Florida, and from Florida 35 years ago, was like a desert. So he stayed with us, and he told me different things. He was a Talmud of Rav Rosenfeld, who was originally started Breslev in the United States. And he told me that after World War II, there were possibly 60 Breslev left. I was very interested in trying to find how it would be possible to make myself get in a position where I could appeal to Hashem, get close to Hashem, and that Hashem would answer my prayers. And I didn't want some other tzaddik to do this for me. I wanted the tzaddik who would teach me how to do it. And that's these stories that we're learning here about finding your neshama. Rav Shik, it's not Rav Shik, it's really Rabbeinu HaKodesh always says that the Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara, the sacrifice you want to give to Hashem is a broken spirit. The people are really together, they don't feel broken, and they want to do what they want to do, and they can. Those people are not going to likely get involved in Breslev, because Breslev is a way to get to the Vegas, to get cling to Hashem. So Chaim told me about the 60, and he told me lots of other things. He had at that time a limited amount. He was young. He was the same age as me, actually, and he was young, and he didn't have everything going like you see today. The amount of books that he's produced in English and for English speaking people is absolutely amazing. But what happened when I first started trying to get the Breslev is I heard that there was somebody in town who had some Breslev connection, and I knocked on their doors and I didn't know them. And I said to this man's wife, he was learning the Kola here, uh, I understand you have some just outside of their apartment, uh, that you have a connection to Breslev, which she basically didn't say much to me at all. Instead, she handed me a book. This book was called Erica Pine. Now, at the time, I'm a Baal Tshuva. I would say I'm very good with languages, but I wasn't really that good. I worked on my Hebrew, but my Hebrew wasn't that good. And she gave me this book called Erica Pine. Erica Pine means patience, basically. And in the first words of this book that I could understand, he said the phrase Ha'adam nolad la'amal. Person is born to toil. Not that fun. Toil what? You either toil in the difficulties of life, or you toil in the avodas Hashem. And the book went on to teach us. This was his lesson. All the different ways that a person needs patience, what it takes in order to be able to grow, to come closer to Hashem. I thought by the time I got done with this book, I was really much, much better with Hebrew because his Hebrew was simple, it was easy for me to understand, and I became captivated by it. And we we're going through a difficult time at home. I think that this book really saved my marriage because the tension that we were under at the time was enough to really break and cause accusations and all different kinds of things to come up. But he taught me how to handle that in this little one little book. The person who wrote this book was a man by the name of Rebbe Lazar Shlomo Schick. Now I didn't know Rav Schick, but I wrote to him. I called him. I don't know which, and he sent me a box of books, all in Hebrew, unbelievable books. And he started talking about how you could perfect your closest to Hashem. And he had this, just I can tell you, I have all the books. I still have all the books. I went through every single one of the books. And he started to work on the avodah that I felt this is the basic, the very first Torah in Likutei Moharan, where he said, but through the Torah that you could come close to Hashem, you get your prayers answered. And I started working on it, and it was wonderful. Even so, though, we were in a very difficult time, but the pressure was in a vice. As a result of that, then I started meeting different people because Breslev was very small. Miami Beach was a desert. Miami, South Florida, there was nothing. There was no Surfside. There was no Hollywood. There was no Boca. There was no Fort Lauderdale. There was nothing. Just a little bit here in Miami Beach. And then, of course, things changed and things started to grow, and it grew up around. Now, I want to specifically just told a little story about myself because we went through years of suffering and tragedy, which were glorious. It's hard to, I don't want to tell the whole story because most people don't want to hear it. So basically, I'll tell you this, is that the love that Hashem has for us is in all of our difficulty. And I know this for an experience because that's what happened to us, is that we came stronger instead of weaker. We came closer to Hashem instead of further away. And this is as a result of Rabbeinu HaKodesh. He taught me this, that even though that the thing that I wanted the most didn't occur exactly like the way I thought it was going to occur, and the prediction of the loss that I was going to suffer actually happened, but nonetheless something else happened, is that I gained an access to realizing that Hashem is in my life and He is everything that I wanted. And although I'm not a tzaddik, but I can understand what he's saying in this story about the lost princess. And the main point that I want to make is this, is that the reason why I became interested in Breslev, and we call it Hiskarvus, the Rabbeinu HaKodesh, into his Torah, the reason why is because he said that he could teach me to access Hashem. He could teach me how to do it. And that's what's happening. Not that he's going to do it and I'm going to try to imitate him. No. He means to say, like Chaim Kramer has this book called the Zamra, which is a Zamra Lil Kai Lil B, D. And I'm just going to be me. I'm going to find out how I, the guy from Tropical Restoration Inc., or the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, how I can get close to Hashem, and how I can find a way to have the prayers that are most important to me answered. So then, Rav Schick is a very different person than Chaim Kramer. I'm living in a neighborhood which is mostly Hungarians. And so as a result of that, there are two different kinds of Hungarians. I don't have to bother going into the details of it, but there are Ashkenaz Hungarians and Hasidic Hungarians. Well, it turns out that I'm not sure exactly how, well, maybe I do know, Rav Schick, who comes from a rabbinic family of Eastern Hungarians, which are the Hasidic type. He's a man that was a shtreimel, a bekisha, and he wore knickers or white socks. It was a white socks up to the knee type. And he would come here. So he sent me books, and I tell you, like I said, I went through every single one of his books in great detail. And he put me in a different dimension. Just all the different things, I tried them all. All the things he said. And he would come here. He came here. He would come because part of the thing that the Hasidim, the Hungarians Hasidim do, is that they come to Florida and they would go to a certain place, a little shtibel that's set up here, not much bigger. It's a mikveh, there's all kinds of stuff there. And he would come, and with the other Hasidim, if you look at him, you couldn't really tell he was any different than any of the other Hasidim. He looked just like them. He wore shtreimel, but I had a chance to talk to him. And I discovered, and he mentions this in one of his books, is that how he actually got close to Breslev because he doesn't come from that background. He's Hungarian. So he would talk to me and he would say to me, "Look," he says, he looks at me. He doesn't have to look at me, but he knows me, and he says, "Look, you don't have to be anything other than what you are. You don't have to dress like me. I dress like me because my father dressed like this, and his father dressed like this, and it goes way back, and we always dress like this, and this is our tradition. But there's no outfit that you have to wear. The main thing that you have to do is practice the thing where Rabbeinu Kodesh says, and do everything he says, and listen to the tzaddik. He'll teach you how to come close to Hashem." And so this is the pattern that I'm in. I've been looking at obviously one of the things that Breslev Hasidim do is they learn Zohar and they learn the Ari. Some learn more, some learn less. There's different kinds of ways to do it. I became really very fascinated with the study of Kabbalah, and of course the teachings of Rabbeinu Kodesh are based really in the teachings of the Ari. The more you know about the Ari, I said, so recently I was in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, there are several big time, which I hope to be able to report on this some more, Kabbalah yeshivas that you wouldn't know. Over here in the United States, well, we have the Tikkun Elevator Kola. We don't have anything else yet. Doesn't mean that people aren't learning Kabbalah. But here in a strange place, here in Miami Beach, it's such an unusual place, but we have visitors that come and they deposit little bits of pointers, how to get to here and how to get to there. Well, I was at this one Kabbalah yeshiva, which is Ashkenaz. They probably students of the Gaon. The Gaon was a Mekubal. People don't realize this because all the Litvish yeshivas, so-called Litvish yeshivas, are based on the study of halacha and Gemara and so on and so forth. They don't know really much anything at all about Kabbalah, but nonetheless, some of his students prospered. And they have a yeshiva there called Shar Shemayim, and maybe I'll be able to talk about the origins of that yeshiva because it's an amazing story. So I went. I have an apartment in Jerusalem, and I've been there many times. But because of complications, I can't. I'm an older person, I have family, and it's not easy for me to go and just take time off and spend some time in a yeshiva. But I went and I found Shar Shemayim, which is in the Geula area, and I went in and I want to see who's there. Well, these are not American people. These are people, Israelis. They look like Hasidim because they're all dressed in black. They speak Yiddish and Hebrew, of course. And they're not exactly American Kabbalists. So I speak a little Hebrew, so I start looking around. The man comes up to me, and the man says to me, I said, what do you learn in this room? And the man says, here we learn Shara Kavanos. Says, "Oh, you're learning Shara Kavanos." So you're looking at me, and I'm dressed American. I'm dressed. I wasn't wearing my Tropical Restoration shirt, but I was wearing just a plain, shirt like you see I wear. And he said to me, "How do you know something about Shara Kavanos?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you how I got involved. This is I used to be, not used to be. I says I started out is a tremendous interest in getting close to Hashem, and in Breslev, I guess we'll start in Breslev." So he wants to make this point to me. This is an interesting point. He says, "Well, this I could tell you something. You can't learn Kabbalah from learning Hasidus." Okay, I'm listening. He says, "But you can learn Hasidus from learning Kabbalah." So this is the reason why we're doing Sipuri Maisios with a little twist. I call it twist, but the basis of it in Kabbalah, because the Kabbalah, knowing a little bit about it, and which I'd like to teach a lot more. I'd like to say over because it's inside of me to say out, and I started bringing some of the teachings of the Ari, and started bringing them out so that we can really have a good idea of where Rabbeinu Kodesh is coming from. You have such tremendous inspiration from Rabbeinu Kodesh that Rav Schick came from his background and produced so many different books. You have Chaim Kramer, who has done so much. You have a tremendous yeshiva system in Tzfat, which is Breslev. You have now Lazer Brody, which we see, who is now coming to South Florida. And the book Garden of Peace that I read, I think it revolutionized my it brought into fine focus the Kabbalah of men and women. Okay, And it brought into fine focus how exactly we can work ourselves out. I've heard a lot of people tell me that it's very hard for them to picture it, but it's all based on the Uri. It's all based on the Uri. So now we have this. We have so much that we have to learn from and to grow from. So anyway, that's just want to get a little background of how it is. Because if you're a person who feels that they want to be taught how to become a tzaddik, how to practice sidkas, how to learn, you have to spend time at it. Like you said, the second to the king here in our story, looking for the lost princess, doesn't get done in a day. It's a lifetime. But it's a lifetime of tremendous beauty because any time you could touch the eternity of your neshama, it's everything. So I hope you enjoyed this little speech, a little speech on the side, but I had it on the inside of me, and thought I wanted to say. And the main thing is I hope you enjoyed it, and that's the main thing, is to enjoy. Thank you.